Hello everyone. Good evening. I'm Subhashini Narayan from Enfold. I would like to give you a brief introduction to Enfold before we start the discussion of the topic for the day. Enfold is an organization that works towards prevention of child sexual abuse. Enfold has been in this line of creating a safe space for children since the last 2 decades. Dr. Sangeeta Saxena and Dr. Shoiba Saldana are the founders of Enfold. Enfold works in two levels. One is the prevention, and prevention happens by creating awareness programs. So Enfold offers a lot of awareness program for teachers, for adults, and for children. We conduct life skills-based sexuality education and personal safety. Apart from this, Enfold also provides support to children who have gone through sexual abuse. Maybe the child needs medical support or maybe counseling support, not only for the child, but also the whole family. And also very important, the legal support. So Enfold handholds families right from the time of filing the complaint to the case comes to the closure. So these are the two levels at which Enfold works in creating a safe space for children. I'm Subhashini, and I've been the lead trainer with Enfold, and I've been associated with Enfold for almost a decade now. I work with groups, I work with parents, children, teachers, conducting life skills-based sexuality programs, and also gender sensitization and so on. Apart from that, I'm also an integrative therapist. I work with adults in different areas like postpartum depression, anger, anxiety, relationship conflicts, and so on. So these are a couple of things that I do, and I will be taking you through this discussion for the day. So welcome everybody. So yes, we are here today to look at how to teach personal safety to our young children. First of all, how do we keep our children safe at home? What do we do? Maybe we keep the scissors or the sharp objects away from them. We also keep medicines out of reach of our children, right? And we also watch out, where are they and what's happening, right? And we do all of this even without being told. This is because the idea of keeping children safe is inbuilt in us. It is intrinsic. Then, what happens when it comes to safety of our children around sexual abuse? Personal safety. Sometimes we fumble, we hesitate, we search for words. Maybe because we were not spoken to about it. Maybe because we don't have the vocabulary for that. So there's a huge silence around it. And sexuality by itself is considered as a taboo topic. So any harm that happens in that regard is not spoken about. So we all have heard of child sexual abuse. We have read about child sexual abuse, right? And according to statistics, Prior's and UNICEF report, it says that 53% of children are being sexually abused, of which 47% are girls and 53% are boys, indicating that sexual abuse can happen to children of all sexes and genders. So definitely there's a need, first, to build our awareness and resources around prevention of child sexual abuse. Second, to talk about personal safety to our children. Yeah. So talking about personal safety, how can that happen? It can happen in two ways. One, primary, very important. We need to create a safe platform for our children where there is trust and comfort so that they can talk about their body and talk about abuse if it has happened. Now, let me give you an example. Let's take a 5-year-old playing in the park. And there's also another older child in the park, let's say 10-year-old, pushes this child aggressively and hurts this child. There's a high possibility that this 5-year-old would come running and saying that this person pushed me down. Maybe the child will also express the anger. Yeah? But now let us say the same 5-year-old is playing in the park and someone around there touches the genitals of the child. How likely is this child to talk about it? Highly unlikely that this child is going to come and report about sexual abuse because some sense of shame and fear is already built into this child by that time. So children don't talk about it. So it's very important at the first place for us to create a platform for the children so that there is space for them to talk about their body, question about their body, and report abuse if there is any. And of course, the second level of personal safety is by teaching the 3 body safety rules to our children. These are the 2 things. Okay. So now let's look at the first one. How do we create this platform for our children where there is space, comfort, trust that they can actually come and talk about sexual abuse? How do we do that? For that, first of all, we need to understand that like the way physical development is happening in our children, psychological development is happening, sexual development is also an integral part of the child development as we're all sexual beings. Yeah, so let's get to understand sexual development in children a little bit so that we have an idea how to build this platform. So, when do you think sexuality or sexual development begins in children? At what age do you think it starts off? Sexuality starts off right from the time the egg and the sperm meet. Sexual development begins from there. Gonads begin to develop, slowly differentiate into ovaries or testes, right in the embryonic stage. Genitals begin to develop and differentiate right in the embryonic stage. And all of this happens within about 9 to 12 months, 9 to 12 weeks of pregnancy. So all of this happens at such an early stage of embryonic development. And male fetuses are also known to have erections right in the womb. Yeah, so sexual development starts off quite early. Now, what happens after the birth? So let's look at what happens between the 0 to 3 years of child development. Okay, so if you break down the 0 to 3 years into 0 to 1.5 years, the 0 to 1.5 years of children, if you looked at children, it is all about feeding them, cleaning their poop, cleaning the genitals, cleaning the bum. So it's all about feeding them and the cleaning part. So this is the orogenital stage. Somewhere around 16, 18 months of their development, children slowly, toddlers, begin to touch their own genitals. They rub their own genitals. The curiosity is about their own body. They begin to explore their own body. But there is no sexual intention to it. There is no sexual imagery attached to it. Yeah? So then why are they touching their genitals? What's happening? So this is a normal part of their children, of their development, right? So male children have erections. They touch and rub their penises. Erections may happen when they are excited, when they are scared, when their bladder is probably full. So erections could happen. Similarly, in the female children, the vagina is known to lubricate just as much as the male child would have erections. So this development is happening, right? Although they do not have sexual intention, they are touching their own penis or they're touching their own genitals, just like the way they touch the other parts of the body. If you noticed, children in this age of 0 to 3 years, they're touching their eyes, they're touching their nose, they're touching their ears, they pull their own hair, they do all of that. Just like that, they touch their own genitals as well. And this is normal part of their sexual development. So as adults, it's important that we do not get fixated on that. So children touch their own body. Again, sometimes we get a little doubtful about that, but then why are they doing that? Like they touch their eyes and nose, they touch their genitals. And second, what happens is that this part of the body, the genitals, has receptors which is sensitive to touch. So when this part is touched, it feels good. It is pleasurable for the child. Sometimes the child may also find it very soothing. It's a soothing act. They may be sitting in front of the gadget. They may be sitting in front of the TV, and they may have their hands inside their pocket. They may have their hands inside the shorts of their skirt and touching their genitals. It's soothing, and they're not even paying attention to that. Yeah, so it's a normal part of their development. And just like the way our tongue has receptors, which is sensitive to taste, this part of the body, the genitals, is designed that way, which has receptors, which is sensitive to touch, and so it feels good. So what you need to note is that children during this age do not have any sexual intention. They do not have a sexual imagery attached to it. They touch it just like the way they touch any other part of the body, and also it feels good. So as adults, it's important that we do not get fixated on this behavior of the child. Yeah. So all of this happens in 0 to 3 years. The other thing, if you also noticed, in this stage, children would pass urine. They would sit in their own urine and splash and play in their own pee. Yeah. It's like, wow, look at this. I created something. Yeah. So what happens when a child does this? We walk in and we see this child sitting in, his or her own urine and playing. And then what do? We look at this child and we're like, oh, look at you, dirty fellow. Fir se ganda kar diya. Look at you, dirty girl. Oh, I have to clean you up. And then we pick up the child up. Right? So do you notice the facial expression, the tone of a voice, the choice of our words? All of this is very important because till then, children have no shame attached to their body. When we do all of this, look at you, dirty girl, or the kind of facial expression that we make, somewhere we are attaching shame to their body, saying that this part of the body is shameful. So anything related to your genitals and bum is shameful. So shaming could happen here. So as adults, it's important that we are mindful of our facial expression, the tone of our voice, and the choice of our words. Because during this time, we need to normalize their body. And the message that one can give during this time is that your body is unique. Right? And we can give this message by not attaching shame. By saying that all parts of your body are fine. They have no shame. Right? So that is something that we need to give our children during this age. So this builds self-esteem, confidence, respect for the body of the child. So this is how we build the child, the ability in the child, so that the child can talk about their own body and the children can actually report abuse if there is any. Yeah, so this is about the 0 to 3 years. Now, moving on to 3 to 6 years. So what happens in this stage of 3 to 6 years? So here, children generally start playing imitation games. It is what they have seen. Probably they start playing house games, and they bring in their own gender role plays inside the game. Right? I'll take care of the kitchen, you go to work, I'll do this, you do that. And as they have observed, they start playing those games. So a lot of imitation happens here, just like the way adults behave. Maybe by holding hands, by kissing, by hugging. All of these things could happen during this time. Yeah. So these are all imitation games. And just to know that this is also a normal part of sexual development in children. So there is a question here, how to teach a child to differentiate a safe hug and a dangerous touch. We're going to slowly arrive at that. I'm going to ask you to hold on to this question for some more time. Yeah. And I will be addressing that part of the question, definitely. Yeah. So one, I told you about the imitation game, the house game the children play. The other that happens during this time is because till now, what you need to notice is till about 2 years or so, children are not so mobile. They need help. They're not so much out there walking and talking. But just after that 3.5 years, they are able to have some conversation and they're able to run around quite a lot. So what happens here is the curiosity about the other's body begins. First is the curiosity about the self, and now slowly it's the curiosity about the other body. So what happens is, I'll show you mine, you show me yours, begins to happen. Yeah, I have had this experience of teachers from some schools have told that, oh my God, we have these, 3 or 4 children sitting in the last bench, and all that they're playing is, I'll show you mine, you show me yours. They're showing their genitals. They're exploring each other's body, and what do we do? So this is some of the questions that's come even from the teachers. Before we go and see what we can do about it, first of all, to know this is a normal part of sexual development. Right? When they're exploring each other's body, sexual mapping is happening in their brain. It is as important as physical development, psychological development, any other development that could happen in the body. Yeah. So just to know that sexual mapping is happening in their body and it's a normal part of their development, and the curiosity is about what's happening in the other's body. So by this time frame of that 3 to 6 years, they definitely have an understanding that the genitals look different in different sexes. They have an idea of that. Okay. And children during this time may also play doctor-doctor games. Yeah, during which they will be exploring each other's body. I'll be the doctor, you be the patient, and they will be exploring their body. And if you notice, generally when they are playing doctor-doctor game, right at the start, they'd have gone off to privacy. They'd have gone off to a place where nobody is watching. There is that sense of, let's keep it a private act. Yeah, and they start playing doctor-doctor game, so on. Okay, so the other question that's come up is, yeah, all right. So should we open, let's understand this, what happens a little more in this 3 to 6 years. In the age of 5 to 6 years, also, children develop modesty and privacy. Yeah. If you notice, children till then are very free. They want anyone's help in the bathroom or when they're changing clothes, and they're not very particular. But slowly around that time of 5 or 6 years, they develop a sense of privacy. They develop a sense of modesty. And they begin to say, I'm having bath, don't come here, I want to close the door. I'm changing my clothes, go away. They start saying things like that. And this is very, very important. That's because they are developing a sense of boundary for themselves. So here as adults, it's important what's that we do. Sometimes I have seen some adults who would step in and say, come on, I'm your mother. I've always given you a bath. Now keep quiet. Come on, keep going inside the bathroom now. It's okay. I've seen your body anyways. Yeah. Sometimes I've also seen some adults say that, oh, but that's your grandmother only know. That's your uncle only know. That's your grandfather only. What's the big deal now? Right? To be mindful of this, because the child in a natural way is developing a sense of modesty, a sense of privacy. And as adults, when we say, what's the big deal? It's okay. We are breaching their boundaries. This is an important aspect to note, because as adults, we have more power with children. We are in the place of power when it comes to children, because children are constantly seeking for permission to do anything and everything. Their life is full of rules, right? So we certainly hold some power when it comes to children, right? Similarly, the sexual offender does too. The sexual abuser also holds power, right? And when the sexual abuser breaches the boundary of this child, the child is confused, and the child can resign to the fact that, yeah, these adults, they always breach my boundaries. Yeah, it always happens to me. So what happens is they may not report abuse because they have already the experience of the boundaries being breached, and it really doesn't matter to them. They don't talk about it, of reporting. Of course, what is happening may bother them, but they may not talk about it. Yeah. Sometimes we also see when relatives come home, what do? They pick up children, they start kissing, they start hugging, and we do all of this to the child. We are not looking at what is happening with the child. Is the child liking it? Did we even check with the child? Can I pick you up? I really love to pick you up. Do we ask the child? No. Right? We only say, oh, you're looking so cute. So it almost looks like you're so cute, so you need to be punished. I'll pinch you hard. Yeah. So, as adults, we go to birthday parties, we pick up children, we pinch them, we hold them, not checking and not even looking at their facial expression. Are they comfortable? Are they enjoying it? Or they're like, oh my God, leave me down. Are we responding to it? So all this is a breach of boundary for the child. So as adults, it's just not parents or caregivers. It's also as adults around children. Each one of us hold a responsibility in building this boundary or holding this boundary for children, because children naturally have a sense of that. Yeah. And now to let children develop that. So this is what happens around the age of 5 or 6, developing privacy. And as adults, what we can add here is not to breach their boundary, to respect that boundary, to say that, all right, now you go wear your clothes and come back. And we can also keep our boundary. Now you can't be around. I'm changing my clothes. You step out. So we are actually reiterating the boundary for them. Yeah, this is yours and this is my boundary. So we're reiterating for them. What are we doing by this? We are instilling self-esteem in children. We are instilling confidence in the child. We are giving the ability to the child to report abuse, if any. Yeah, so all of this happens even without us saying, just with our actions, just by that little words, all of this is taken care of. Okay, so this is what happens around the age of 5 to 6 years. So if you looked at sexual development, all of this happens. 0 to 3, they're touching their genitals, they are rubbing their genitals, they have pleasure, and it's also soothing, but they don't have any sexual intention. 3 to 6, they continue to do that, they touch their own genitals, they rub their own genitals, it feels pleasurable, it feels good, soothing, but still they do not have a sexual imagery or a sexual intention till the time of puberty. They do not have that. Yeah, but it just feels good. So we may find children even of 5 or 6 years touching their own genitals, with their hands inside their pocket. And in the next phase, that is 3 to 6 years, children are also exploring each other's body. I'll show you mine, you show me yours, kind of games begin to happen where they're exploring each other's body. Okay, so this is sexual development in children between the age of 0 to 6 years. And it's important that we understand this because it's an integral part. If we want to teach personal safety to children, we need to understand what is actually happening in them. Okay, so this is what happens. Now moving on. The second important part of teaching personal safety. How do we teach personal safety? One was to create the platform. Yes, by doing all of this, we are creating the platform where children will come and ask. Yeah, there's one more thing that as adults we can also do is keep the doors open for children to ask all their questions. That also helps for children to come and talk to us, talk to the adults. They may ask any number of questions, engage children in their conversation, answer as many questions as possible. Right? And sometimes they may come and ask some kind of embarrassing question. Why is that auntie's tummy so fat, so big? And when we make a face like this, the child is like, oh, looks like this is something I can't talk. There is something not all right. Right? So by engaging in conversations with children, answering all their questions, almost all their questions, is also very, very important. Because now the child knows, I want to ask something. I'll go to this person. I'll go to mama, I'll go to dada, I'll go to this auntie, teacher, whoever. I can go because it looks like this person is answering. So our facial expression is very important and we need to answer as much as possible their questions. So the children come back to us talking, asking. Then there's a possibility we know what's happening in their world. Okay, so this is also an important aspect to create a platform of trust for children, answering the questions. Sometimes we may not know the answer or we may not know how to say it rather. So we could probably even tell them, you know what, I know the answer to this question, but I don't know how to say it. Shall I tell you tomorrow? And then quickly what we do is our research. We talk to our friends, we talk to people from NFOL here and there, we collect some information. Okay, this is how we answer this question. All right. Okay. Then the next day, go back to the child and say, hey, you know what? You asked me this question. This is what it is. Now the child is like, oh, this person is even getting back to me. So look at the bonding, look at the trust that is getting built between this adult and the child. Yeah. So it says that we are having trouble playing this video. I'll continue. Okay, all right. So that's about creating the safe platform for the children. Now moving on to the next one, which is how do we teach personal safety to our children? The important question that we actually ask here more than how is when. When do we start teaching personal safety to our children? That's a very important question to ask. So what age do you think we can start teaching personal safety to our children? Maybe puberty? When they're of age of 9, 10, 11, maybe they'll reach puberty. Is that a good time to start talking about personal safety to them? Now let me ask you this. If the child had to cross one of the busiest roads ever, let's take a ring road, and this child had to cross that road. At what age would we let that happen? Some of you may be thinking never, given the traffic conditions. But let us say that we are okay for this child to cross the road by himself or herself without any supervision, maybe around the age of 15. Maybe, let's say. Around age of 15, let's say as a parent, I'm like, okay, my child can cross the road now. For this to happen at the age of 15, when does the education begin? At 10? At 5? Actually, if you notice, it starts off much, much earlier. Probably even when the child has not started talking, we carry this child in our arm and we are crossing the road and we're saying, look at the red light, look at the green light, and now look at this huge truck, let's wait, and now let's cross the road. So if you notice, the education for this crossing the road happens quite early, around the age of 1 or 2, even before the child has started speaking. So what happens when it comes to sexuality? What happens when it comes to the point of sexual personal safety education? Somebody is saying yes, from the beginning of 3 to 6 years. Yes, it can start even before that. So we can start teaching personal safety to our children right from the age of their first few words. So when they start saying their first few words, that's when we can start teaching personal safety to our children. Okay, so when they start saying their first words, mama, papa, dada, dadi, we also say eyes, nose, mouth, right? So personal safety education, first step is to teach or is to name all parts of the body to the child. We all teach all parts of the body to our children, right? We all do that, no? What do? We say eyes, nose, mouth, head, shoulder, chest, stomach. Then what do? We go straight down to toes. Nothing in between at all. Right? So that is the shift that we need to focus on. So we need to name all parts of the body, even that part of the body which we generally skip. So what is that we can name? What are the words that we can use? So definitely the part which is used to urinate, we can call it genitals. Genitals is a common word for which can be used for all sexes. Yeah, the part that's used to urinate, so it can be called genitals. Maybe we can use the word penis for male children. Maybe we want to use the word vulva, vagina for the females. Yeah, we can use any of these words. And then we can also use the word bum or buttocks, the part which has the anus to pass motion. We can use the word bum or buttocks. Okay, so we have a set of words: genitals, penis, vulva, vagina, bum or buttocks. Important point to remember here is, when we are teaching something to our children, we need to know that they're going to use it. They're going to try it out. When we say nose, they'll say nose. So they're going to use it. Now let us say I have taught my child the word penis and I'm having coffee with my friend. Suddenly this child comes in running and says that, Mama, my penis is itching. Now I'm very upset about it. Because in front of my child and in front of my friend, this child has embarrassed me. So I get very irritated, very upset, and I start screaming at the child, don't you know what you need to be talking? That can happen because that can cause more damage to the child. Yeah, one, we have given the word. Now what am I doing? I'm snatching that away from the child. It can be more harming to the child. So instead, we need to use words that we are comfortable with first. Genitals, penis, vulva, vagina, bum or buttocks. But let's say, in my household, I have little inhibition. Maybe I do not want to use, or I'm there's little discomfort. Probably we can use the word susu place for the part that's used to urinate. Potty place for the part that's used to pass motion. Susu place, potty place. Yeah. So it's important to use correct words and also important to use unambiguous words. All right. Sometimes I've heard families where they have named this part of the body random names: flower, jamun, tota, parrot. All of these are very, very ambiguous names. It means tota means tota. None of these words meant the word genital. And the child lacks the vocabulary. And when the child needs help, probably I'm the person who's around this child. And this child, let us say this child comes running and tells me that, auntie, this auntie is touching my flower. I look at the child and say, okay, right? No response. But if the same child came to me and said, auntie, you know what? This auntie is touching my genitals, is touching my vagina. There is going to be an immediate spontaneous response to that. Yes, the first response is now how to keep this child safe, who is the offender, what's happening, how do I keep the child safe, whom do I inform, how do I call the parents, all of that would come, right? So it's very, very important to name all parts of the body, to give correct and unambiguous names. So it's very important. And certainly, I would invite you all to think about why are we playing games with these words, right? Susu plays, potty plays. What do we call eyes? Eyes. For centuries, eyes has been eyes, right? Nose is nose, hand is hand. There is no debate or discussion as to what should we call this part of the body. Is there anything else? No, hand, hand, nose, nose. But only when it comes to genitals, there is so much discussion. What do we name it? What do we call it? Oh my God, all of that happens. So again, I invite you all to look at this. Like right at the start, I said, we need to first build our awareness and build our resources around sexuality. Because when we want to keep our children safe against sexual abuse, it's not like saying, okay, I've taught you these 3 things, now come on, be safe. It doesn't work like that. It definitely doesn't work like that. If we want to create a safe space for our children around sexual abuse, the first thing we need to do is we need to build our comfort level. Right? So I would definitely invite you all to think about why we want to play around these words as to, if not genital, what else can I say? Genitals are genitals, penis, vulva, vagina, bum, buttocks, and so it is called. And every part of the body has its own function. By doing this, we are teaching children that no part of the body has shame. We are teaching children to be respectful of their own body. They won't giggle, they won't laugh. Children by the age of first standard or second standard, 6 or 7 years, know many slangs. We have seen it in schools. They know so many slangs for genitals. They don't know the right word, but they know all these slangs, center point to everything else they know. Right? So how do we bring in respect? By teaching them the right word. Okay, so this is how we teach personal safety to children. The second point of how to teach personal safety to children is by teaching 3 body rules. Okay. 1. The first body rule that we can teach children is no touch rule. There are certain parts of the body which no one touches. Mouth, chest, genitals, bum. Mouth, chest, genitals, bum. No one touches. If this is the vocabulary you've given to the child, these are the words that we would use. If I've used the word penis, then I will use the word penis. So it depends on the vocabulary. Then we say these are the 4 parts of the body which no one touches. And in fact, no one can touch anywhere in the body if you don't like it. Yeah? So that is the no touch rule. And if anyone is breaking this rule, come and tell me, I'll help you. Right? And children will accept these rules. Children are okay with rules because their life is filled with rules. Like I already told you, there are rules everywhere. Eat at this time, sleep at this time, don't do this, don't sit there. Full of rules. So there's one more rule, no touch rule. No one can touch in this part of the body. If anyone is touching, that means that person is breaking the rule. Come and tell me, I'll help you. And trust me, children will come and say, because they like to watch who is breaking what rule. Right? And also, if I'm the caregiver to the child, even for me to be responsible of saying, listen, I'm giving you bath, but then this part of the body, you apply soap, you put soap, I'll pour water. Because this part of the body, no one touches. Yeah? Just like your face as well. You put soap, I'll help you, I'll pour water. Yeah, because your eyes, they're also sensitive, right? So even the caregiver, even the parent or the adult who is with the child, even for them to say, this part of the body, you take care, I'll pour water, I'll help you, but then you put the soap and you take care, because no one touches this part of the body. And by 5 years or so, children are good enough to have their own bath. So to encourage them to do that and maybe support them with water and other accessories that they want to go in for a bath. Yeah, so this way the child knows this is the rule. As the child slowly grows, so we can start off these 3 rules, as I said, maybe around 4 or 4.5 when they're able to talk. We can start off. By the time they are 5.5, 6 or 6.5, we can add layers to this rule. We can say, no touch rule. What happens when we go to doctor? Sometimes the doctor may have to give injection in your bum. Sometimes the doctor may need to press your abdomen, need to press your stomach to see if your tummy is all right. Yeah, and to tell the child that's okay because one adult is with you, one parent is with you, then it's okay. If you're alone, even the doctor cannot touch. Yeah, so to teach this, so now you're adding another layer to this rule. Okay, so first rule, no touch rule. We can teach this to our children. Parts of the body, no one can touch. And if anyone touches, that means they're breaking the body rule. You come and tell me, I'll help you. Okay. The second rule, what we can teach our children is the clothing rule. The clothing rule is we keep our body always covered. We go out, we keep our body covered. Sometimes we take off our clothes in privacy, like maybe we are having a bath or you've gone to wash your bum, then of course, you've taken off your clothes. But when you come out, we all wear clothes. So we all wear clothes. So that's the clothing rule. But sometimes if anyone has broken this rule, not wearing clothes in public, that means they're breaking the rule. You come and tell me, I'll help you. Right? Because also just to be mindful and to know that flashing is something that happens around institutions. Because see, around that 4-5 years, children are now going to schools, right? Preschools and so on. So this is the time that, and abuse is known. Institutions, schools around, and that's where flashing happens. Flashing is when the abuser shows off his or her own genitals in front of the child. So flashing could happen. Now this child could be like, oh yeah, somebody just broke the rule, closing rule. I'll tell Mama, Papa, whomever. Yeah. So that's the clothing rule. We all wear clothes to keep our body covered. Now, like I said, when you start at 4.5 years, we may not get many questions from the child. The child will say, okay. But slowly, as we keep talking about it, children may come up with more questions. But why? Why nobody should touch only genitals? Why only this? Why that? Children may slowly start asking questions. So it's important even to answer that. Yes, genitals are sensitive. You can get an infection. You can get hurt very easily, just like your eyes. No one can poke your eyes, right? No one can come and put their finger into your eyes, right? Yeah, just like that. Because this part of the body is also sensitive. You could get hurt. You could get an infection. Nobody can touch this part of the body. It's a rule. So we can start talking about it. Yeah, as children are getting older, they would ask more questions about it, and we keep adding layers to this conversation. Okay, no touch rule, clothing rule. The third one is talking rule. We tell children that we talk about our body when we need help and with someone whom we trust, whom we know will help us. We share this information with those people. Sometimes there are some people who may say words loudly, outside in public. They may say the word genitals loudly. They may say the word bum loudly in public. That's not okay. We talk about genitals. We talk about bum in private when we need help. Probably I'll go to the teacher. Probably you'll go to the parent. You'll talk to them about it because you need help. You want to say something about it. Maybe you're having loose motions. You want to talk about it. Maybe you were playing football and the ball hit the genitals. You want to talk about it. So we do talk about these parts of the body in private and to someone whom we know will help us, whom we trust. So these are the 3 rules. And if anyone is breaking any rule of the body, then come and tell me, I will help you. This last statement, come and tell me, is the key. It's very important. Because if you notice, children, it's not about that they have learned these 3 rules and so they can resist abuse. That's not the idea. With these 3 rules, the children can identify abuse. They will know, okay, this is the rule Dad was talking about. This is the rule Mom was talking about. Oh yeah, someone broke it. They are able to recognize what is happening there. Yeah, because it is not the child's responsibility to defend the abuser, push the abuser and emerge as the hero, the heroine or whomever. That's not the job of the child. The job of the child is to play. So the responsibility of safety of the children lies with the adult and not with the child. So we are encouraging them, we are teaching them respect, we are teaching them giving them the confidence to recognize abuse and come and talk about it. Okay, so these are the 3 rules we can teach our children. We can also give them 3 more guidelines. That is, if anyone breaks this rule, if possible, shout loudly. You can say no loudly. You can say stop. You can say no. You can say that. Then you can also say, if possible, go away from there. And please come and tell someone who can help you. No, go, tell. You can say loudly no. You can say stop it. You have the right to say it. If possible, go away from there. Please come and tell someone who can help you so that we can stop what is happening. Okay. Now, if you notice these 3 points, it's not a rule, it's a guideline. We're telling children, if possible, go away from there, because we need to understand children are little, right? This huge adult holds the child cannot run. So there's no point if I ask the child, why were you standing there? Why were you not running? All of this doesn't make sense. Of course, the child can't run, right? So this is a guideline. You can say stop it. You can say no. Try and say no. If possible, go away from there. Come and tell someone who can help you. Okay, these are guidelines. So the child keeps it in the mind somewhere. And if possible, the child will use it, if possible. Okay, now, big question. Whom will the child come and report? Whom will the child say to? Many times as adults, as parents, we say, come and tell me. I'm your mother, I'm your father, I'm your whomever, come and tell me. The child is like, but I'm so scared of you, I don't want to tell you. Yeah, so now it's important to encourage the child. It doesn't mean the child hates us. Children are full of love. Children are full of love. It's just that they get scared because sometimes they have done something wrong, some mistake, and probably as a mother, as a father, and I've said, how many times do I tell you? Maybe I've said that, and the child is like, oh, mom may scold me. Yeah, so it's good to encourage the child to say, whom will you come and say it to if you need trouble? Whom will you say it to? Most likely the children are going to say mother, father. Amma, I'll come and tell you. Papa, I'll come and tell you. Whom else can you say better? Ask the child. Encourage the child to identify the safe adult. Instead of me saying, the neighbor auntie, no, she's very good. Go tell her. That opposite dada is there, no? That grandfather, he is very good. You must tell him. We don't know. We don't know that. Right? Who is the best person to see whom am I comfortable with? Children. They know it for themselves. I will know it for myself. I can give a hint to the child. How about that uncle? How about that dadi, that nani? I can ask. The child may say, yeah, no, I don't want to go. It's okay. Now, identify 5 people. Mama, okay. Papa, okay. Oh, this dada, okay. That dadi, all right. This teacher, all right. Okay. So, you're enabling children to identify safe adults, because we all know, and we have read it and we all know it, that about 85% of the time sexual abuse happens by a person who is known to the child, right? So it's very important that we encourage children to identify some safe adults for themselves. Okay, so that's important. So 3 rules: no touch rule, clothing rule, talking rule. Guideline: if you're in trouble, what could you do? Probably you could say no, stop it loudly. If possible, go away and come and tell someone. Whom will you say it to? Who are the safe adults? Who will follow body safety rules are safe adults. Who will help you are the safe adults. So whom will you come and say it to? Encourage the child to identify 5 or 6 people so that they know they can reach out to 1 or 2 of them. So this is how we teach personal safety to children. Okay. Now, just because I have sat my child down, let's say my child is 6 years, I've sat this fellow down and said, listen, this is your personal safety rule. My job is done. No, it isn't that way. So teaching personal safety to our children is a consistent conversation. It's not a one-time talk. We keep talking about it, right? It's a consistent conversation. It's an ongoing conversation that keeps happening. And when do we have this conversation? Anytime. Probably the child is having a bath. It's a good time to start talking about it. Probably we are sitting down and looking at the garden and talking about it. Bring in this conversation of, you know what, look at this. We also have body safety rules. You know what those rules are? Okay, start talking about it. We can have these conversations anytime. And it needs to be an ongoing conversation for children. Okay, so this is how we teach personal safety to children. Now, how to teach a child identify good touch and bad touch? All right. So this is a very common question that comes up. First of all, to understand that we do not go by the word good touch and bad touch. There's a reason for that, because the touch, the sexual touch can be good. Yeah. When probably this abuser is sitting next to this child, let's say a 6-year-old, rubbing the thighs of the child, touching the genitals of the child. Like I said, these parts of the body have receptors. It's sensitive to touch, feels good. Yeah. So probably the child may feel good about it. So it's not whether the touch is good or bad. The question to ask is this touch safe for the child? So we use the word safe touch, unsafe touch. Okay, so how to help the child identify? One, by teaching the rules. Listen, these are the parts of the body which no one touches, and that's the rule. And now the child already has an input that, oh, somebody's touching my genitals. Looks like it's not okay. Somebody's breaking the rule. So that's the way we teach, help the child differentiate between safe touch and unsafe touch. The other thing also what we can teach children to identify safe touch and unsafe touch is by maintaining boundaries. When the child says, don't hug me, don't pick me up, you know what, that auntie always picks me up, then, you're saying, it's okay, beta, auntie will, let the auntie pick you up. The child actually is saying, it's not that the auntie is an abuser. No. It's just that the child doesn't like to be picked up by the aunt. The auntie may not be the sexual abuser, but the child is saying, I don't want something. There is a sense of, I don't want this. Right? But what do? It's okay, auntie only, no? So there's a constant breach. So the sense that the child has, we're breaking it down. So not to do that. Sometimes we keep feeding our children. Child is saying, stomach is full, this is happening, enough. No. You ate your sambar, you have to eat your rasam, you have to eat your curd. You need to finish this. You should not waste food. Look at the amount of food you have on your plate. Yeah? Keep feeding, force feeding the child. If the child is saying no, there is something naturally inbuilt system children have to say no, enough, I don't need, I don't like, to encourage that. Yeah? So I'm not saying don't feed your children. I'm saying keep very little food on the plate and children will eat how much they want, and if they want more, they'll ask for more. But force feeding on a continuous basis, the child loses, like, anyway, it's going to be stuffed. Yeah? So how to differentiate between safe touch and unsafe touch? By teaching body safety rules. Second, by holding those boundaries for children, they become very stronger with that feeling of, yeah, I like this and I don't like that. So that is another. Then I am against role-playing games where my daughter would be cooking in the kitchen and her friend would go and work. I don't want her to feel that it's her responsibility to look after the house and the work. Please let me know, is it okay to role play? Is it outdated game that children should avoid playing? Absolutely not. Children play these games. That's what I spoke about. The house game is generally the gender role playing, where children imitate what they see. And if I want my child to play a different game, where here the question is, my daughter is cooking and somebody else is going out. Now let us say, I don't want my daughter to be cooking, but I want my daughter to be doing some other activity. What do? We need to role play that as adults. Children only imitate what they see. I can't make my child and say, listen, you know what? Girls can also do other things. You stop cooking better, do this, do that. Child will say, okay, mama, and go out, play a house game. Still, they will do the same thing. Children learn a lot by observing. 95% of our communication is non-verbal communication. Just the 5% is what we talk. So, demonstrate what you want your child to pick up. Yeah, of course, it's not an outdated game, and it's so important for them to play these games and discover. And probably the other will ask, why is that always your cooking? I want to cook. You know, they'll figure out. Then this child would say, no, this is what my mama does. And probably the other will say, no, in my house, somebody else cooks. And probably they'll figure out their own way. The game is not outdated. The game is absolutely fine, healthy, and children need to play more of these games. But if we want to change something for the child, we need to change something in us first. I hope that answers your question. I've told you about good touch and bad touch. How to make aware a toddler to identify good and bad touch. A toddler, I'm thinking about 1.5 years, 2.5 years. They're supposed to be playing. They're supposed to be with people. They're supposed to be touched. Touch is very important for children, right? And how will they identify it? By wriggling. By crying. They'll say no. They've identified. They're not going to say, I think this is sexual abuse. I think this is what happened here. They're not saying all that. They just cry. They just mock. You're going to that auntie's house, I don't want to come. Why, beta? What's happening? She'll always pinch me. Okay, this time I'm going to tell the auntie not to pinch you. So what's happening here? It's very important for the adult to step up. How to teach a toddler to identify good touch, bad touch, safe touch, unsafe touch is by the adult stepping up. I'll tell the auntie. Probably we'll go to that auntie's house, and as I'm holding this child, probably I'll tell this aunt, you know what? This fellow doesn't like to be picked up. This fellow doesn't like to be pinched. Yeah. Okay, auntie, let's give a high five. This auntie may be upset with us, but that's adult to adult. We need to get ready to deal with our issues than dumping it on our children. So teaching a toddler safe touch, unsafe touch is by identifying they already have a sense. They're saying, no, I don't want. They're smirking. They're doing something. Talk to them about it. And as adults, we need to stand up for our children in establishing those boundaries for them. Yeah. So there's also another question about homosexuality and pansexuality. I will not be going into that today because it is not in the scope of our discussion, and that is a huge section by itself, and it would get diluted, and I will not be able to do justice to that topic. So definitely we could have another conversation about gender and sexuality in large, how to identify in children. All that conversation can definitely happen later, but it's not in the scope of today's conversation. So I'm going to skip that question. Great. Is there any other question, or is there anything that you want me to talk about? How to differentiate a safe hug and dangerous touch? And as I said, uh, that's what it is. Maybe I will give a couple of scenarios if this helps. Now, let us say, what do we do to understand the socio-sexual play of children? Now, let us say two children are playing doctor game in a room, and I'm the adult who's in the house, and I just open the door and I walk in on these children playing doctor game. They have taken off their clothes and they are exploring each other's body. What can one do? How can we respond? Simple. The first thing to do is ignore. Like I said, this is a normal part of their sexual development. When they are playing such games, sexual mapping is happening in their brain. We need to let it happen normally the way it is happening. Not to interfere, not to put shame, not to put guilt, not to put fear. No, it's happening. Let it happen. What do we do? Ignore. And maybe we can have a conversation with the child later. Probably at the dinner time or sleep time, and and to bring about this conversation. Hey, what game were you playing? Was that the doctor game? Oh, no, I don't want to tell you. Maybe the child will say that, because probably the child by now has a sense, I won't tell mama, she may, or I won't tell papa about this. Probably even for you to go on to say that, what, this is a game that children play in that age, and no adult can join this game. No older children can join this game. That's very important to tell our children. No adult can join this game. No other older children can join this game. Generally, when we say doctor game or this exploration about each other's body, when we're talking about it, we look at an age difference of 2 to 3 years, a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old, or a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old, 4-year-old and a 7-year-old, 5-year-old, 8-year-old. We're looking at 2 to 3 years of age difference, right? If a 5-year-old is playing this game with a 10-year-old, it is something to look at, something to bring into attention, to talk to the older child, what's happening. It's not that the older child is an abuser. Probably the older child has seen something and doesn't know. Nobody talks about it and is exploring here, right? So who needs help? Both of them need help, the 5-year-old and the 10-year-old. Yeah. But if it is between 5-year-old, 7-year-old, leave it. Let sexual mapping happen. Talk to them about it later. A later conversation can happen. Yeah. The other scenario, what I also had in mind, probably if it is helpful, is let us say the child, a 4-year-old, runs out of the bathroom naked, not wearing clothes. What do we all generally do? We all say shame, shame, or we say shame, shame, puppy shame, go on to sing a song also, right? So that is something the child picks up, and the child knows this triangular portion of the body, something is not okay. The rest of the body, nobody is saying it's okay. But looks like this triangular portion, something is not okay. So what we could do is, once again, let the child be. If the child is running around naked, it's okay for the child to be naked. Yeah? It's not, just because the child is naked doesn't mean the child should get sexually abused. No. Then the adult needs to be watched, not the child. So it's okay for the child to be naked. Now let us say I have a couple of guests at home and this child is walking in naked, went and stood in front of the TV, changing the channel. Then what do? Probably I can say, beta, do you want to go and wear your shorts? I can tell her, come on, no. Wear your skirt. Do you want to come inside? Wear your skirt. No, 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 I'm watching TV. Then probably we can change and saying that, hey, you know what? You have your pink skirt and you have your yellow skirt. Pink skirt had two pockets. Would you like that? Huh? Which one? Come, let's choose one. So the choice, you're giving them a different choice. You're not asking you want to wear or not wear. You're saying pink or yellow so that you can distract them by asking that question. Take them inside, help them wear clothes, and as you're helping them to have a very pleasant conversation. How many times do I tell you not to go out like that? Not helping. Yeah, we're instilling shame, taking away their confidence. So instead, we could actually say that, you know what, whenever we go outside in front of others, we always wear clothes. Okay, now wear this and go. How many times do we need to say this to children? Many, many times. It's not like I said once and my child will. No. We need to say that many, many times to the children. There's one more question. My 6-year daughter enjoys washing her genitals for 5 to 10 minutes until I ask her to stop it. Is it normal? Yes, probably that's the time she gets to touch her genitals also. See, what happens is when you're talking about male children, the penis is out there. So every time they urinate, they get to touch the penis, or even otherwise, the penis is there for them to touch it. But in case of the female children, the structure is very much inside. All that they can touch is the surface of the vulva, but the clitoris is inside. They may not be able to touch it. Maybe she's figured out when I wash, maybe some part of it is getting touched. It's fine, it's normal. But if required, you could also tell the child that, you need not wash your genitals so many times and figure out what she has to say. Maybe she will say that, no, I want to just make sure she does not have any itching sensation or there is no urinary tract infection. That's all you need to check. But if the child is going on to touch by washing 5 or 10 times, it's absolutely okay. Just check for the infection, eliminate that factor. If that is not there, the child is washing 5 to 10 times because an opportunity to touch the genitals. It's okay. Yeah. Ah, yes. Is there anything else? Okay. I think this was really lovely talking to you all, and I hope the session was informative and it is helpful to you all. Probably for more questions, you could also look at the Bal Surakshit app that is created by Enfold, which is available. You can download it on your phone. It has many information, many such information like what we discussed. And also there are, how do we answer children questions? How do we answer certain questions, right? And those questions are there with answers. So you can download this app, Bal Surakshit app. So the Surakshit app has how to talk to children, how to teach personal safety, and how to answer questions to them. Yes, so all of this is available on the app. Please download, and you can reach out to Enfold India. You could also do that. Yeah, yes. She says it tickles. Yes, it tickles. Probably it feels good, and that's what she means. And let her be. Yes. Thank you all so much. It was very nice interacting with you all. And please do stay in touch for any more queries or any other sessions that is happening with Enfold. Thank you all so much, and bye for now. Thank you.